It's the King J, back with another video. But today I want to talk about Tekken with someone that is very known for MK. But we gotta try and, get him up on the levels with Tekken, because obviously there's a lot of moves, and I know a lot of people see this game and see 100+ moves. So I'm gonna allow him to introduce himself. So let's get into it, man. So introduce yourself, man, to the people that want to know what we're talking about today.
Yeah, man. I'm Rewind and I play MK. That's mostly all I play. I've dabbled into other fighting games, so I do have outside fighting game experience and knowledge, and I feel competent in those games. But Tekken is for sure one of those games where it's intimidating to want to get into for not only casuals, but even other people who are good at other fighting games. So hopefully Jay can close that gap in knowledge just a little bit today.
Definitely. So first things first is that there's a bunch of characters in this game. I want you to even select, you choose a character, and I'll just try and show you the best way how to find the moves. So is there a character in mind that you've got?
I play Steve, so it would be a no-brainer. Probably try to learn the character I'm trying to pick up.
Nice. All right, so we'll go for Steve. So the thing with Steve is more unique than the rest of the roster. Like, everyone's kind of got their launchers, like downfall 2s that are standard launchers. Steve is not that kind of character. He's more relying on counter hits. So if you key charge, his main thing is back one, right? But if you look into the move list and there's stuff like combo challenges and stuff. Combo challenges does not give you optimal combos. This is like the bare minimum, right? But this can get you started on what works and what launches, what counter hits and stuff like that, right? So that's your first step. But then moves, I would say, you've got main techniques here, which shows you some of the stuff you can do in heat and stuff like that. So it does get a bit overwhelming, because it's like, oh, there's heat, there's this, there's launches, there's counter hits. What do I need?
Exactly.
So, essentially in most fighting games, most people just care about, flashy combos, right? We don't want to be sitting there standing and we're just mashing buttons and we're just stuck in one spot. We want to know what are the key moves. So usually in Tekken, we always rely on the jab, which is the basic thing. And the reason why it's the basic thing is because usually most people's jabs are like +1. So if they try to throw out a jab, they're gonna lose, right? This is start your offense. Obviously the poking side of things is always down forward 1, but then you lose your turn because you then go into minus, right? So if you're going into minus, you then have to start doing extensions. So he has down forward 1, 2, right? You know about the notations, right? Of 1, 2, 3, 4, left punch, right punch. Yeah. Okay, cool. So you got those type of notations. So it's every character in this game, that is the format is jabs for pressure. Down forward 1 is your poking, because you don't want them to duck. And then you can then open them up with low moves, because the low moves is what gives the damage if they're standing, right? And then you then start to mix it up, and then you start taking a lot more of a risk by doing moves that, if they does hit, it gives big reward. If it doesn't hit, they get punished.
Yeah.
So you then have to go into the moves list. Like I said again, the moves list is the key thing here. So there's a bunch of moves that obviously go into heat engages. These are your moves that go into heat, which obviously gives that big momentum boost. You get all of this additional stuff, whatever. And it shows you all the stuff here. With a character like Steve, if I was learning a character like Steve, I would focus on 3 of his stances and focus on using 2 or 3 of his moves out of the stance. And the reason being is because it gets overwhelming. I've been there where I tried to pick up a character before. I used to play Lei. Lei has got so many stances, so many different moves, and it's overwhelming. But if you start to learn 2 or 3 of the moves, like a low move and a mid move, it then becomes, all right, he does this. All right, let me add an extra move once I start feeling comfortable. And then what happens is you then become comfortable with the stance. With a character like this, you also need to learn what are good moves that he can do without being in a stance, because when you start the match, you're not gonna be in a stance. You can't just select and be like, I'm picking this stance. That doesn't work that way. So you then start to look at all right, what moves are good? What move knock down? Because we want moves that knock down, right? So then you start browsing through. You'll be like, all right, cool. So here's all the moves. Usually in Tekken, when it says normal moves, it starts off with all the stuff that's not in stance, but then it has a box where it says to shift into such and such stance, as we can see here. It says you can shift into flicker stance. Don't worry about that stuff now. This stuff, again, is the more kind of like intermediate, advanced stuff, you know, when you want to learn how can I get into the stance. But if you're starting off, you'll just want to learn like, what are the jab strings? 1-1, 1, 1-1-2. What is the strings that I can do from, you know, hit the 2 punch, which is the right punch. And then you start seeing stuff like with the tornado icon. And I know it sounds like I'm saying so much stuff right now, but I'm trying to say it in a way, because Tekken is very, very, the learning curve is so high. You can just keep learning every single time and it doesn't stop. Yeah. So yeah, you look at stuff like this where it's got the squiggly line, which is obviously the tornado, which is when you do a combo, you can then make them like bounce on the floor, then you can continue the combo. So yeah, let me not dive into too much of that. So these are all the normal moves, right? All the normal moves, all the normal moves, all the normal moves. As I said, down forward 1 is going to be your key move, and then you've got a bunch of strings from down forward 1. You then need to.
This is real quick. This is kind of crazy that I've been playing Steve, and I've just been doing a bunch of like I haven't been going too crazy at Tekken, but I'm like kind of like towards the end of like red rank or whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm like, it's crazy that I've just been copying and pasting what I've seen people doing in videos, and like I really haven't looked at his move list for real. But like I understand the stances, but it is just crazy like how you can actually kind of learn Tekken just a little bit if you just watch people who are high level play. You kind of copy and paste a bit.
For sure. So like high level.
Kind of hard though, depending on the person and their execution. But
for sure, high level play is definitely something that a lot of people, when they try to learn a game, like including me, if I was to learn MK, Dead or Alive, Street Fighter, I would definitely watch a high level player play and figure out why would they do that move there? Why are they not?
Why is everything.
Exactly. So that is, you know, that's the homework. It's like, oh, why are they doing this? Why are they doing that? Let me try and apply it into my gameplay, see if it works. And then you kind of emulate what works, and then you kind of change it with stuff that you want to put into your gameplay. So that's another way of making it work. But the move list, like I said, like learning stuff from like what he can do in here is also good. And also learning from like, so there's like a bunch of moves. Like I said, these are all of his moves. When it gets to like around the part before the 10-hit combo, no one really does 10-hit combo. It's just that's an old Tekken thing that's there. But like when it gets to around this part, these are kind of like your pressure tools just before the 10-hit combos. Usually it's like the running freeze or running moves that you can do, quarter circle forward moves if the characters have it, which are like the strong moves. And these are stuff that you would need to add into your move list, right? So, you know, strings, jabs, down forward 1s, these are like, you're kind of like, you're fishing for a counter hit, you're poking, right? And then you have to add throws into the mix. So you'd have to scroll down to the bottom where it will show like, he has a bunch of throws from what I know. He has like, I think 4 or 5. But yeah, see, look, it's going into
stances. He has that one throw like off of the stance too.
The peekaboo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shoves him against the wall or something like that.
So he has that, but then look at like, so here's a bunch of these throws. So you then have to add throws into the mix. Now, not all of them, but you have to.
So many.
Yeah, so you have to add them. So again, like I said, there's 5 things I would look at when I pick up a character. I literally picked up Shaheen yesterday, and I'm flying through the ranks. But it's because this is the method that I pick when I choose these characters. It's like, what throws do they have? How is their like poking game? Like their down forward 1, their low moves, the jabs, because that is what you're going to use to try and break someone's a defense down. What are the strings? What are their launchers? If they have launchers. Obviously, Steve doesn't really have launchers outside of like, you know, me doing, let's say for example, up forward 2, which let's set them off.
So Steve is just like a counter hit, is just poke machine.
Exactly. So like stuff like this. So like, those are the only 2 things. But if you're looking at counter hits, back, you could use back 1. You know, there's like other stuff as well if he does. Stuff like that. But you're literally fishing for counter hits. Even stuff like this. Like, you want people to press.
What are his power crush buttons again?
Say that again?
What are his power crushes again?
So his power crush, I don't even know what his power crush is. Let me look at the move list. I think he has like.
I know a lot of people love throwing out power crushes.
I think it's the flicker. Hold on, let me see. No. Nah, I don't know what his one is. I think he has one from flicker though.
I know he has one off Sway. Was it right? Sway 2 or something like that.
There we go. It's this one here. Back 2. So you could probably do something like, just probably like go like this, because this is a high, right? So even if they block it,
Yeah.
you're not even punishable like that. So like, let me do it again. -9. So essentially in this game, if you're on -9 and you're not close to opponent, you give up your turn. But once you backdash, you ain't really giving up your turn. You're kind of still in there because you've created that space, right? But if you do -9, most moves that are -9 and you're close, yeah, you can't sidestep. You just literally have to block if they do take their turn. If they don't, and you backdash,
I assume that's like matchup dependent too. Yeah.
very matchup dependent. Like Yoshimitsu, if you're like -9 and some stuff and you're close, they can do the flash sword, which is like 6 frames. So that means they get a combo and stuff like that. So you have to just kind of be careful when, like, that's Yoshimitsu though. Not every character has that. Out of the 32 characters, there's only one character that has that type of property. But yeah, like in terms of your moves, like I said, the lows, the mids as well, like this character, like I said, counter hit dependent. So maybe try and find 4 or 5 ways to try and counter hit your opponent. What are 4 or 5 moves that Steve has as a counter hit to kind of open up your opponent? What are moves that I can use to open up your opponent? Like from what I know of Steve, he could do this and he goes into stance.
That's the big thing about Steve too. He's not really like he doesn't really string you up. It feels like he just doesn't do that. That's at least what it feels like when I played him. He's just always in the stance, or sometimes he has like, you know, is it down forward 2-1-2?
Down forward.
That's a great counter hit, but it's a high. Or is it down 2-1-2?
Down forward 2-1.
Not down forward, just down 2-1-2.
Oh, down to this one. So
I know he has that one, but it's a high, and it's like, okay, now where's the next layer? You know, really, the problem is just building layers upon these buttons, you know, and knowing all the layers too.
That's what I'm saying. Cause like, look at this, for example, when he does QCF1, which is this, you would use this against the wall essentially, because people are scared of the stamp punch thing. So like, people are scared of this.
Yeah, but that button isn't rocket launcher unsafe.
This one?
Yeah. No.
Oh, they block. Oh, yeah, no, but if you go flicker, you're -3.
Oh, damn. Yeah, I didn't realize you could go off flicker into that. Yeah.
Yeah, so most of the times with this character, this is why I say this character is pretty advanced, because what happens is that when you're doing attacks, you can either press back for flicker most of the time, or you can press down to go into another stance. And it's kind of like an old rule in Tekken. Like most of the time with these characters,
like next level, bro. Because it's like for him, these moves are unsafe unless you go into a stance and cancel them.
Yeah, like
that. Is like a whole different thing.
That's a whole nother layer to it. So it's like, if you done this, so people might press. Then you got the power crush. So then you can do the power crush here. You see what I'm saying? Because people
think of that layer.
And that's the way how the layers. Because it's like, oh, okay, boom, I'm -3, boom, and it's like, oh.
Yeah. That's a great power crush. I didn't even think about that. That's off rocket launcher?
Yep. You got to just hold back when you do it. So you can do QCF1, hold back, and then you'll go into flicker.
Okay.
And then you can do that. And you're -9. So you're still not in that punishment range. You're still in that -9. Oh, it's their turn.
Right.
So then now, on top of it as well.
Tempted to press. Take the turn back.
Yeah, they can take the turn back. But then from that, if you block something, just backdash. Just backdash.
Right.
And then like, obviously from this, if this is successful, you have 2 options. You have the guard break.
Yeah.
The mid, which is -9 safe, and it's a heat engager. So they have to guess between those 2 options. Yes, he has other options from that, but those would be the 2 that I would choose, because those are the 2 that I would be scared of the most. Oh, am I gonna stand and you know, be guard broken, or would I duck and eat a heat engager? You see what I'm saying?
I know a lot of people, for some reason, I've seen a lot of tendencies too, where people like to try to fuzzy it. It's like they'll try to like block mid quick and then duck second, and I'm like, nah, you could just that's where I see the layers, bro. Delay the mid. Yeah.
See what I'm saying? So there's like so much stuff that you can do. So yeah, like all in all, like to wrap it up, I would say in this game, learning characters, the main part about learning these characters is just knowing to use jabs, down forward ones, lows. That's step number 1. Then learning strings, like see what strings that the character have. If they have loads of stances, I would only choose 2 to 3 moves out of the stance. just so you can get comfortable. Then, you know, maybe a week or two, you're like, oh yeah, I'm used to those ones. All right, let me see which other ones. The other stuff that might be out of the stance might be like unsafe. You might be like, oh yeah, this is unsafe, but if you throw it out, it might catch someone off guard. So then you start like experimenting with that and seeing what works and what doesn't. Then you add throws into the mix. And once you add throws into the mix, it then puts people off guard. They're like, oh, he's now doing throws, like, and these are like command grab throws. So then it then scares people even more. And then finally, the last advice I would give is watch other players and see what moves that they do. Like when you're watching, like, I don't know, the match replays that everyone's doing nowadays, or if you're seeing people doing streams and they're using your favorite character.
You can learn a lot from watching the high ranked people with your favorite character. They play even different than, like, you know, I was watching Low High a lot in the beginning when it dropped, and then I was like, and then there was this other Pakistan Steve player I was watching. Yeah, he plays completely different than Low High. And then I was watching like some random Tekken Emperor, you know, Steve player on leaderboard or the replays, and I'm like, bro, they all play so different, but all their game plans are pretty effective.
Exactly, and that's where you kind of take you'd be like, oh, okay, that one. I like how he plays. He plays different, but I'm gonna try and apply that to my game plan, and then that's how you get your own game plan. It's not like, oh, I have to learn everything by myself. It's like, yeah, you'll see these players there, and then you just emulate.
Not today. I don't know how people learned Tekken 20 years ago. I don't like when you literally have no internet. Yeah, best of luck. It should be easier than it's ever been to learn Tekken in 2024. I think, right?
100%.
They're trying to make it super easy. You know, YouTube is a thing. Replays. We've
got everything. Whereas before, we had to look at rbnorway.net. Shout out to them. And we had the whole frame data, and they kind of filled it out. And we had to watch, like, there was no matches. It was literally a document of each character's frame data. So we never had YouTube. We never had Twitch and all the, you know, live streams, replays. We're in a very fortunate time. Plus, they've made the game a lot more easier and accessible for people. So yeah, that was my tips, you know, for people that want to get into Tekken, man, and especially obviously to help you understand how easy it is to learn, rather than, oh man, here's all these moves, I don't know what I'm doing, you know, let me go and turn it off and play something that has less moves. Do you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
So
the biggest thing I've taken away from this video is break that move list into bits and pieces and add the other pieces of the move list once you have assessed the moves that you've chosen as the moves you want to work on.
Definitely.
Instead of trying to just randomly throw out every single move on the move list, just try to like focus and hone in on one portion of the move list at a time. That's the biggest takeaway I've seen, and that's a lot of the Tekken tutorial videos. A lot of the people who are really good at explaining. That's a lot of the things that they have mentioned is just taking your time.
Yeah, literally, just take your time. There's no rush into it. You can literally just be like, all right, cool, you know what? Here are some of the moves I want to use. Like, literally, like I say, jab, down, forward one, and lows are usually the starting point. What are the low attacks that they do? What's the mid strings that they do? How is their jab? Then you start adding in strings. Then you start adding in throws. And then that is all together, like, you know, the base plan of the character. Then you can start looking at like launchers, tornado attacks, combos, because I know everyone wants to see the flashy combos, right? That's how it works. Then you can then start getting into, oh, okay, this character has stances. What moves can I choose from the stances? There's a lot of layers that need to be broken down, but that's the beauty of this
Seems
game.
Like figuring out your buttons is like the first thing you should learn, is what I've also learned from this. Is like I noticed you made stances and throws like some of the last things you want to even bother to think about when you're getting into Tekken. Seems like you just basically said, bro, figure out what buttons you want to press. Right. Combos will come later.
Bro, that's what I'm saying. You need to learn, because the throws and stances is what will throw you off. You'll be like, oh yeah. Like for example, Steve has like 6+ stances. Like you could
really win in Tekken with no combos.
That's what I'm saying. You can literally.
That's what I've seen in a lot of high level Tekken. Is just I've actually seen people just literally poke each other away to death. So
that's what I'm saying. If you spend your time looking for that launcher, you might not ever get that launcher. So it's all about, you know, poking, doing strings, trying to catch people out. Obviously, some strings can be delayable. Some strings you can kind of like, you know, just do the 2 hits and you're okay. You're not that unsafe. But if you do the 3rd hit, you're unsafe. So it's all about like choosing what you want out of your characters and like what you can get out of, you know, learning from other people and picking the right moves at the right time, you know? So yeah, man. Hopefully you understood, like, you know, some of the stuff that I said, and hopefully I will see you on Tekken for, you know, a couple more months, man. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, for sure. Just taking my time with it, and because I know this game is really rewarding when you put your time into it. And just try not to give up. You know, that's the biggest thing. Most people have to try to push through that wall where they start to feel like this is getting a little bit too hard, too much. Especially when you're trying to still maintain being good at another game. You know, you're trying to add Tekken to the mix, and that's Tekken's one of those games where it's hard to play Tekken and commit to Tekken when you're playing other stuff. It feels like you're gonna really make it hard on yourself. So.
No, definitely.
That's a big thing.
Sick, man. So we're at the end of the video. Thank you very much for your time. For the people that want to know where to find you, how can they find you, man?
At RewindNV is pretty much my @ on all platforms. So pretty much it. Appreciate you having me.
Thank you very much for your time. Really appreciate it. And obviously for the people that are watching, let me know what you lot think about the video by leaving a comment in the comment section down below. Remember to subscribe, and yeah, we'll be on to the next video. Take it easy, everyone. Peace.